Infinite Kingdom with Scott Phillips.
Gotta keep the kingdom.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Keeping the Kingdom. That's what I'm gonna call it now from now on with these sessions that I'm doing. Um, I want to share some news real quick. I posted a video on TikTok and on YouTube. It's a short video that actually breaks down the gospel of the kingdom. And I'm excited because I feel like it's very succinct and precise, especially when it comes to length and when it comes to content. Um, I really feel it will keep people's attention, and it's designed to be used for anybody who wants to use it, who wants to share their faith, because we live in a day and age when people's attention spans are very, very short. And so, what I try to do is keep things very simple and very practical, which is I have like a podcast again, Practical Discipleship Podcast, which is to be there for people just to have some type of reference point or things to use that will help them share their faith. So I'm gonna actually show you guys the actual thing I made, and yeah, I hope you guys like it. So uh, give me 1 second here. There it is. Okay, let's. I want to pull up here. You know what? I'm gonna do this let's do it this way. Okay, so here is the video that I made, and again, use it for how you wish. You know. All right, so check it out. I'm gonna top here now because I think it's very important for you guys to see and understand here. All right, so here we go. This is the video of what I made. Just check it out.
God is the King of all. He made this world and gave his most precious creation, dominion over all he made. Because of our selfishness, we chose to run from him and live life without his help. God is love, and from him comes all life. So without him is misery. Having gone so far, we lost our way and can't seem to find our way back to him. So instead, we try to live in a world of brokenness, death, and sorrow, pursuing other things to make it enjoyable, like drugs, alcohol, sex, even religion. Yet all these things never satisfy. They simply bring us back into a broken state of mind. But God the King wants us to return to him and restore the broken world back to perfection. But first, he has to somehow right our wrongs. There must be a payment made. So a part of himself comes out of heaven to earth and becomes a man named Jesus. He allows us to kill him, giving up his earthly life as payment for all wrongs ever done on the planet. And because Jesus never did anything wrong himself, he rose from the dead and became supreme king over all the living and the dead. His life, death, and resurrection made a pathway for humanity to come to God the King again. In response to what he did, God the King tells humanity that we can once again have dominion over his creation by pledging our lives to the Supreme King, the God-man Jesus, the Savior, by yielding our lives to serving him in this broken world. God the King has promised that upon our eventual death, he will raise us to life again, to rule and reign with our Supreme King, Jesus, on a restored earth of love. The wrongs of our past won't be remembered, since they will have been paid for. We will never die again and live forever with God the King and the Supreme King in a restored kingdom. This is the gospel of the kingdom of God.
Practical Discipleship Podcast.
Streaming on YouTube and Spotify. Restored Kingdom.
Okay, so you guys see that y'all saw that video, and it's available on YouTube, on TikTok, and use it however you want, again, to share with other people. I am actually in the process of making a tract. Um, and I'll show you the tract once it gets here. I already ordered it, where I'm going to put a QR code so that my Uber passengers will go to the link and go actually access that video and hear the gospel in 2-3 minutes. You know, now if you notice, yeah, obviously I use AI to do the talking and all of that stuff. But my whole aim and focus, which has always been like this since I started this whole restore kingdom stuff, is kingship. It's about the full gospel. It's not just about the cross. It's about from beginning to end, the fall of Adam to the restoration of all things. That's the full understanding of the gospel. Jesus preached the gospel of the kingdom, and so I try to keep a lot of kingship language in there, kingdom this, kingdom that, God's dominion, kingdom, things like that, because that is ultimately who he is. It's not about heaven and hell. It's about having a kingdom be restored that was hijacked by the enemy, and because of rebellion, basically was what happened. So, with that perspective, that keeps the real enemy in their focus, which is the devil. Now, mind you, I did not talk much about the devil in that presentation, but that's where the thing is when it comes to three circles. That's what kind of where I get that from. If anybody that actually are familiar with gospel sharing, that is the three circle method. But I put more of a kingdom bent to it. You don't have much time, and I try to keep things concise. Now, the whole point of that is to prime people for a more in-depth understanding of the gospel, where you sit down with the person at McDonald's or you sit down with them at the library or at their home and you go through the gospel, either verbally or with the cups and cookies or with household items, kitchen items, or with cards, the gospel cards that I use. And that's where you go into details about being born again, about the enemy, about Satan, and the crushing of the serpent and all of that. But the three circles, that's just to prime them for the more deeper message. And if they want to know more, they will reach out, or they will, you know, um, uh, uh, be more interested. So that's what that's about. I want to talk about another thing though. A brother of mine, a dear brother of mine, messaged me on TikTok asking my opinion about something here, and it's about this guy named Mamdani. I'm sure you guys have heard of him. He recently won the mayoral race. He's a Muslim from Uganda, and he's a communist. He's a communist. Now, I'll say this, I I've always believed that this nation is really on a pathway to destruction, and I'm not saying that to be mean or to be like cynical about things, but I've always said, even when I went out preaching earlier in my early days, that that if God were to spare us of destruction in the current state that we're in, He's going to have to apologize for Sodom and Gomorrah. And I say that because of abortion. I say that because of same-sex marriage and all of these things that are blatant, open rebellion against God. Yes, we have the church, and I think that's the only thing that's keeping us alive right now. But even the church is becoming lukewarm. Even the church is becoming stagnant, and just not really caring much anymore. When it comes to Mamdani, um, there's a video that this brother wanted to be commented on. I did watch the video earlier. Early, it's 5 minutes long, and I'm not going to go that long with it. And I'll just play some of it, so you guys can get an idea of what she's trying to say here, and that way we can get some context as far as what my response will be to this video. So I'm just going to play this for a second, and then we'll start talking about it. So let's take a look.
A scary place right now. The guy that y'all just elected in New York City, Zoran Mamdani, I might be saying his name incorrectly. There is so much. It's like the world doesn't have discernment. This it's like, do y'all have discernment? Do y'all? This is about to be Dearborn, Michigan, all over again. Are y'all understanding that are prophetic things that are taking place. I literally have done videos on how the rise of the Islam nation is taking place in America. I can't stress it enough. I know y'all like to think that everything is political and everything is a fight for our rights. It is not. This is a full on spiritual war. When this happened, when they elected him and whoever y'all voted for him, I need y'all to understand that this was a spiritual signal, number one, to the Christians. He is now over one of the wealthiest cities in America, one of the largest cities in America. I also think it's interesting that there is a high amount of Jews other than Israel that is in New York City. The number of Muslim Americans that are in public office, even now, when we talk about local, state, federal levels, is increasing. And we're seeing this in Minnesota, we're seeing it in Dearborn, Michigan, and other places. In fact, Dearborn had a situation where they were trying to invoke the Sharia law. And if we are not having the Spirit of God and discernment with what we see is going on in the world as Christians, as believers, we're going to miss it. Pretty soon, we will be getting persecuted just like everybody else in other countries. It is happening even now in other countries. Look at Nigeria. It is happening. And they are not even reporting this stuff on the news because they don't want you to know that religion is on the rise. But they had a loudspeaker in Dearborn, and it was being used by a mosque for a call to prayer, and it was disturbing a lot of people who were Christians and people who believed other things. It kind of started to become a problem where they were complaining. Y'all not understanding that Sharia law is going to be a real thing as we move and escalate towards the tribulation, as we escalate towards the real end times that we are seeing. And I'm not trying to make you be fearful, but you need to open up your eyes. That was not by chance. What we
Okay, I'm gonna stop here. All right, so when she was sharing this, I'm very aware of what's going on over there. Um, I will say this that I mean she's not wrong. I do see spiritual forces at work that's taking place on a very exponential level. Things are getting faster. Just when it comes to the persecution of Christians and all of these things, and the rise of Islam. It's really interesting because it was rising before, and then Trump came in the first time, and I feel like it kind of got squashed a bit, like it really went down. And then all of a sudden now it's back like worse than ever, and to know that Dearborn, Michigan is basically Muslim, mostly Muslim. They're doing calls to prayers and things like that. And then I'm hearing of other places as well, in Texas as well. Um, and now in New York, and now you have a Muslim mayor. Now, how that happened, to be honest, I think there was some corruption involved. There's no way. I just can't. I can't understand it. However, it's spiritual, and so I'm not surprised. Um, and he is a communist, and like I said, he's on record saying things that are against the Jews and whatnot. Um, Now, here's the thing. When it comes to all of this, though, I was thinking, I couldn't help but think as I was listening to her, and it just came to my mind. And I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but this passage just came to my mind, and I thought, could this be that city? Maybe, maybe not. And what I'm talking about is if you look at the Bible, if you go to Revelation chapter 18, I want to share something with you here. This verse actually came to my mind as I'm listening to her speak. And check it out. It's very interesting. It says, I'm gonna start from the top. After all of this, I saw another angel come down from heaven with great authority, and the earth grew bright with its splendor. He gave a mighty shout. Babylon is fallen. That great city is fallen. She has become a home for demons. She is a hideout for every foul spirit, a hideout for every foul vulture, and every foul and dreadful animal. For the nations have fallen because of the wine of her passion and immorality. The kings of the world have committed adultery with her because of her desires for extravagant luxury. The merchants of the world have grown rich. Then I heard another voice calling from heaven, "Come away from her, my people. Do not take part in her sins, or you will be punished with her. For her sins are piled high as heaven, and God remembers her evil deeds. Do to her as she has done to others. Double her penalty for all her evil deeds. She brewed a cup of terror for others, so brewed twice as much for her. She glorified herself and lived in luxury. So match it now with torment and sorrow. She boasted in her heart, I am queen on my throne. I am no helpless widow. I have no reason to mourn. Therefore, these plagues will overtake her in a single day. Death and mourning and famine. She will be completely consumed by fire, for the Lord who judges her is mighty. And the kings of the world who committed adultery with her, and enjoy her great luxury will mourn for her as they see smoke rising from her charred remains. They will stand at a distance, terrified by her great torment. They will cry out, how terrible for you, O Babylon, you great city. In a single moment, God's judgment came on you. The merchants of the world will weep and mourn for her, for there is no one left to buy their goods. She bought great quantities of gold, silver, jewels, and pearls, fine linen, purple, silk, and scarlet cloth, things that made her fragrant. So it goes on and on, but basically, it's describing this city, and also you can also see that the city is by water, because it talks about ships somewhere. I'm going to skip down some for the sake of time here. Uh, yeah. Somewhere in there it talks about water. I remember. So this is by the water, and New York comes to mind. Now, yeah, I might be wrong, right? There was a Babylon, and there still is a Babylon in the Middle East, where those next to Israel. However, we know that Babylon is pretty much weak. Now, maybe it's gonna actually. Honestly, it won't. I don't think it will actually get back to how it was before, because God prophesied that it wasn't going to be at how it used to be, and we see that to this day. So the question remains, what city is Revelation chapter 18 talking about? Now, to me, in my opinion, as an American who hasn't really seen the rest of the world per se, I hardly ever go out the country. I've been a couple times, but that's it. Um, America, no, I'm sorry, New York is like the city. Okay, that is like the biggest city that America's the greatest country on earth, right? And New York is the greatest city in America. It's huge. It's like when people think of America, the first big city they'll think about is New York. And now New York is going to be run by a Muslim. Now, uh, is the Bible talking about New York? I don't know. Maybe not. Now, this is the end of the story. This is where God destroys that city, wherever it is and whatever it is. Um, it just some things popped out to me about that verse. It talked about how they were a terror to people, and how the city being destroyed. It says later on in that passage how, as believers, we should rejoice in that, because that city was like the Mecca, or like the center point of persecution for Christians. And we all know that Islam hates Christianity. It does. Just like they hate Judaism, we're kind of like cousins with that. So could it be? I don't know, possibly. But it's something to think about. Something I think about. Like I said, I could be totally wrong with this, and I'm okay with that. If you guys believe I'm wrong, sure, I'll take that. That's fine. But it just came to my mind. Just came to my mind, and we have to wait and see. We had to wait and see what's going on with that. However, we do know the walls are closing in on us, guys. We're gonna have to step it up. We're gonna have to be more consecrated in the Word, prayer, I've changed a whole lot. I've changed things in my life. I started doing journals now. I'm being more consistent with my reading, my prayer. I have sabbaticals, guys, from social media because it can get too distracting. Even the name TikTok. You know why it's called TikTok? In my opinion, from a spiritual point of view, because it's taking your life away. The time that you're on it, the tick-tocking of your clock is expiring. So be mindful of your time. Be mindful with how you use your time. Do not be the thorn, the trees. I'm sorry. Do not be the seed in the thorns. Do not be the seed in the rocks. Islam is here, and I've always kind of believed that when it comes to the persecution that's defined in Revelation, the Great Tribulation, that it most likely will be from Islam. Now, I had doubts earlier because of ISIS being destroyed by Trump in the first term and how things kind of went down. But now look around you guys, especially in America, Islam is growing and it's the same spirit. It hasn't gone away, so, and anti-Semitism is growing, and you and I both know that, God has given the Jews that land. And I don't care what people say. I did a whole teaching on this, the Holy Land. Okay. However God's going to get it done, he's going to get it done, his prophecy. So, and people don't like that. People don't like that. They hate the Jews. They hate Zionists. That's what they call them. So, um, it's the heat's turning up. The heat's turning up, and we need to be grounded in the word, grounded in prayer, grounded in fasting, and keeping him first and being watchful. So, because the time is coming close. Now, as far as Mamdani being the Antichrist, I don't see that. I don't really see that yet. I need more convincing for that because honestly, the Antichrist will be a deceiver. A lot of people will fall in love with this guy, and Mandani has a lot of haters. So, a lot of obviously Muslims like him, but there's a lot of people who don't like him. Just like Trump. That's why I don't see Trump as the Antichrist. The Antichrist is going to be well liked. He won't desire women. And there's other things that we see in the word regarding this man. So he'll call himself God. Muslim would not dare call himself God. In fact, they get upset when we call Jesus God, because the Prophet Muhammad, is the final prophet, and so yeah, I don't see him as the Antichrist. That's what we see him as. That's what she means by AC. But I'm not saying that he's not here. He could be here. He could be a child. He could be a teenager. He could be middle age. I don't know. But the signs are really really showing themselves. So we better be watchful. Read Revelation. Okay. So I'll end it there, guys. I thank you guys for tuning in to this session on Keeping It Kingdom. Let's keep it kingdom, guys, as the days drawing near to his return. Love you all. God bless you all. Take care.
Restored Kingdom.